Hey friends, it's Gloria and welcome back to another video. This is going to be the end of the year book tag originally created by Ariel Bissett, and this is just a fun video to do every single year, answering some questions about the books that you want to read for the remainder 3 months of the year. I truly can't believe summer's over. I'm very sad about it because I love summer, and this year just kind of flew by. I have no idea where the last 9 months have gone, but it is fun to think about what books I want to read or will be reading in the last few months of the year. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. Number one is, are there any books that you started this year that you still need to finish? I usually have many books going at once, and so there's plenty of books I'm in the middle of that will be read by the end of the year. But one that I am taking my time with because I'm reading it out loud with my husband before bed is Garden City by John Mark Comer. This is a Christian nonfiction all about work, vocation, calling, what we are made to do as humans, and we are just a little over halfway. I think we have 130 pages left to read, so my hopes is that we'll get this done before the end of the year, but we are slow at reading. And another series that we both are making our way through together, it's a reread for me but a first for him, and that is The Hunger Games. We have completed the first book. We are in the middle of, or like 60% of the way through Catching Fire, and we still have Mockingjay, the full book, left, and I want to read the prequel, The Ballad of Song and Snake, whatever, that came out a few years ago. So I think all of those 4 books will encapsulate all of the Hunger Games material that we have out there in book form, and I feel like we could, hopefully, fingers crossed, finish that entire series before the year is over. Question 2 is, do you have an autumnal book to transition to into the end of the year? And I have a few books to mention. The first 2 I definitely want to read. They're on the priority list. I can't believe I haven't read them yet. They feel very autumn vibes, perfect time of year to read them, and so I think they will get read. And then I have 2 that I'm very intimidated by that I don't think that I'm gonna love, but they're very autumnal for a reason, so I'll mention those as well. The first one that I want to read, I can't believe I haven't, is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. This has been on many TBRs. This feels like the fall book to read. I've also already watched some booktube videos out there about fall book recommendations, and this book is almost on every single one of those lists. So Jane Eyre, I'm finally gonna get it read. I'm honestly a little intimidated by this one. It's about 450 or so pages, but I also kind of have high hopes for it, so we'll see how it goes. Another one that this just feels like the perfect time of year to read is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. I, again, cannot believe I have not read this yet. This even came out at the top of the list in my vlog where I read popular historical fictions. I just didn't have a chance to get to this one, but it will happen. Before the year's up, I will read this, and I also just feel like this is the perfect time of year to read this very supposedly heartwarming, cozy, character-driven novel. This next one, solely because of the cover, feels super autumnal. The Overstory by Richard Powers. The trees, the nature, the green and orangey colors, this feels autumnal, but I am so intimidated by this book, and it's long and kind of chunky and heavy. I don't think I'm gonna read it before the year's up, but it feels like an autumnal book, you know? So maybe if I'm really convinced to and really in the mood for it. This one was in my most recent haul, and I also feel like it's perfect for this time of year, Beheld. It has that like creepy pilgrim, Mayflower, Thanksgiving vibes, some flowers and crows and like a little blood dripping off this flower. It's got the creep fall factor, but I also am a little intimidated by it, and it's not like that high on the priority list, but it's a beautiful cover and a fairly short book, so I might surprise myself and pick it up this fall. Question 3, is there a new release that you are still waiting for? I don't follow new release lists too much, but the #1 book that I am waiting for that comes out on November 1st that I am dying to get my hands on, preferably the audiobook, especially if he narrates it himself, is Matthew Perry's book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. I love a celebrity memoir now and again. I'm a huge fan of Friends, and I believe he's the only member of the cast of Friends that has come out with a book yet. So I am just dying to get my hands on this read. Question 4 is, what are 3 books that you want to read before the end of the year? I couldn't give you 3, so I'm gonna give you 4 because one in each of my main genres. #1 genre, historical fiction, As Bright as Heaven by Susan Meisner. This was on my end of the year book tag last year. I bought this book last year on my birthday. I want to read it. It also feels very right for this time of year. This is about the Spanish flu in Philadelphia. So this is my historical fiction hopeful before the end of the year. I've recently been in a huge nonfiction kick. I read nonfiction all throughout the year, but fall and autumn just feels like the nonfiction season as well. Also Nonfiction November is coming up, which I am so excited for. But my nonfiction read that just needs to happen before the year is up is The Spy and the Traitor by Ben McIntyre. This has also been on many TBRs. This is a true crime book. I've watched the movie The Courier, which was based off of this book and this story, and I just think I'm gonna fall in love with it, and it needs to happen. My classic hopeful before the year is up is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I have read 3 of Jane Austen's novels so far this year, and I have about 3 months left of the year to read 3 more of her novels, Sense and Sensibility being on top of the list. This one I have the audiobook to pair with this read, and so I would not only love to read this Austen, but the other 2 I have left as well, which is Mansfield Park and Northanger Abbey. So we'll see what happens. And my thriller book that I want to read before the end of the year, and I have every intention to make this happen, and that is 3 Hours by Rosamund Lupton. This is a book that I mentioned that I picked up on my UK trip in London in the Foyles bookshop, and a book that has also been on my TBR for way too long. This is a suspense thriller following a school shooting in the UK. I have heard nothing but amazing things, so I'm excited to get to that one. Question 5, is there a book you think could still shock you and become your new favorite book of the year? I made a whole 5-star prediction video, and those 3 books I will circle back with you in October. So one of those books or all of those books have 5-star potential. They could become winners and new favorites of the year. Also, like I mentioned, November's coming up, and nonfiction and historical fiction combine to become my favorite reading month of the year. So November is full of potential for 5-star reads, both nonfiction and historical. I haven't solidified any reading plans yet for that month, but I just know I'm excited about it. And in general, I feel like I'm due some 5-star reads before this year is up. I haven't had too many amazing reads this year. My average rating is really, really low in general, I think, for the year. So I would love to just find some books that I love with all my heart. Don't know if that'll happen, but I am willing to be pleasantly surprised. And question 6 is, have you already started making reading plans for next year? I haven't even made reading plans for November, so no reading plans for next year. Not at all, really. But I'll check in with you back in December. Maybe by then I'll have some plans. As of now, no. I always have a huge list of video ideas and vlogs I can do and books I can read and themed things I can do, but nothing solidly written down. No pressure, want to mood read. It's reading, it's fun, it's a hobby. So that's kind of the vibe that I'm in at this time of year. But that pretty much sums up the rest of my reading plans for the year. Let me know what your #1 book is that you want to finish before the year's up. The one that is on the highest of your priority list. I'm curious to know. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys in another video soon. Bye!